Hello,
Hello.
everyone.
Hi.
Hey, everybody. We are so excited to have you here with us today. In case you're new around here, I am Hillary Buchholz, and I have with me Patty Quinn. And
Hello.
yeah, we are the co-founders of We Heart Hounds. And as you can see, we're so excited because we also have a very special guest with us here today.
We do. I'm so excited. It's such a pleasure to have her with us here. We've got Diane Rose-Solomon, an award-winning author and the amazing owner of Animal Magic Films. They're a company that aims to enrich the lives of all of us and our well-being by sharing really amazing stories of the therapeutic interactions that we have with animals. So I think in telling those stories, that really just gets the word out about just these amazing bonding moments that we can have with animals and the benefits that that provides. So thank you so much for being with us today, Diane.
My pleasure. Thanks for including me.
Yeah. So I am so excited about your company's mission about kind of really exploring that human animal bond. And can you tell us a little bit about how you got started and what brought you down this path?
Okay, we're gonna have to go back like 25 years because
you were two, right? You were only two.
I was two. Right, I was two. No, I was definitely an adult, a young adult, but I was an adult. And we were ready to have our first dog. And 25 years ago, I didn't know anything about dog adoption. It wasn't a commonly discussed topic.
Mm-hmm.
And so we were going to go to a breeder and get a dog, like most people did that I knew. And my husband's friend accidentally found this dog on the soccer field, and then we ended up adopting the dog. That's a whole nother story in itself. And so then I was, learning about the world of dog adoption and dog rescue, and I joined the board of an organization, and I really fell in love with this dog. And I learned then that it doesn't have to be a breeder dog. You could be any kind of dog, and your heart just opens.
Yeah.
And so I thought, like, what if more people could have this experience that I was having, right? This opening of your heart to this dog. And so I joined the board of an organization that was doing some rescue and also like fundraising for medical aid for animals, and like during crisis and stuff, like during hurricane, they had boats that would go rescue people with their animals. This is like 20-something years ago.
Right.
So I was working with them and really learned a lot about the whole animal rescue movement. Fast forward a few years later, I hear about a program at the Humane Society University, and I became a certified humane education specialist because I thought, well, it'd be really cool to teach people what I know. How do I go about doing this?
Mm-hmm.
And then I started writing children's books about rescue. So my first kids' books came out, JJ the American Street Dog and How He Came to Live in Our House, which is just a fictionalized version of my story for kids. And then what happened was I sort of became the doggy expert among my friends and in my community. So whenever people had questions, not just about adoption, but they already had a dog, and whatever the questions were, I was that go-to person. And so in 2016, I published a book called What to Expect When Adopting a Dog, because I had so much years of information of being a pet parent, if you will.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I just wanted to share it with people that didn't have my phone number, right? It's one thing for them to be able to call me and I can help them, but what about the thousands of people out there that have my phone number to call me?
Yeah.
So I wrote What to Expect When Adopting a Dog. And just around that time, maybe a couple of years before that, I was at a conference promoting my books and whatnot. The conference was okay, but what blew me away was at the end of the conference, there was the keynote speaker was from the Human Animal Bond Research Institute. HABRI is their spell out HABRI. And I'd never heard of them before. And the speaker from the stage was talking about all of this science and all this research about ways that animals help people. Like the one that sticks out in my mind, and there's many studies now, but this is something that people can understand. People who are going through chemotherapy, for example, they had one group of people who just had regular chemotherapy, And another group also had therapy dogs visit them regularly during their treatment.
Mm-hmm.
And as you might imagine, the group that had the regular therapy dog visits, they felt less anxious, they had less pain, they healed quicker, faster. The whole experience was overall just better.
Mm-hmm.
And so as I'm listening to this talk, I'm actually getting chills speaking about it right now because I get excited every time I talk about it.
Yeah.
I realized, like, this is amazing. And like, there were so many studies. And my first thought, because remember, I came from an animal welfare background, was if more people knew how amazing animals were, maybe we'd respect them better, respect them more and be kinder to them. And they wouldn't be throwaway animals and we wouldn't be eating them. And like all of the things that like shouldn't be happening to animals. And as I got more involved in it, I realized, wow, there are so many ways that animals help people. We can help people too. That it's not an either or conversation. It's a both and conversation. And in fact, the definition of the human-animal bond is really our mutual benefit. It's not just one or the other.
Yeah.
So, so then I came back from that conference, and I was really excited, like I am now, telling this woman that I work with about this conversation, about this talk. She said, "Oh, you should make a documentary film." And I was like, "Oh, I just learned how to make books. Now I'm like, okay, here we go." And then it all kind of clicked, like, all right, I'm willing to do this, but like, why me? Like, why am I the person to do this? And like the light bulb went off. In 2009, I was hospitalized with pneumonia. I was really sick. I'd been sick for like 10 days already, finally hospitalized. And on day 4 of being in the hospital, a woman pokes her head into the doorway of my hospital room and says, "Would you like a visit from a dog?" And I was like, "What? A dog? Like, are dogs allowed in hospitals? Like, what are you doing here?" Yeah. Of course, come on in. And it was the most amazing. I don't even know how long. I was fevering. I have no idea how long they were in there for, but 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. It was remarkable. And I remember just having this feeling of delight from having this experience. I missed my dogs who were at home, but I could be with this other dog. And now, granted, they did change my antibiotics, but the next day I started feeling better. And I do credit the ability for the medicine to actually start working with me being able to breathe and slow down and have that moment of joy rather than just the craziness of being in the hospital. Right. And I also can even go back further. When I was a kid, I was bullied in middle school. It was really bad, but I had a cat who I came home to, and I would cry to my cat. And I managed to be able to get up the next day and get to school and be okay and come back, and it all started over again. And then as an adult, my dogs, I moved from New York to Los Angeles as an adult. I didn't know anybody, but I met people through my dogs, and they were conversation, and it just they're such a source of comfort. They have been for years through trying times, and they still are. Yes, I'm talking about you. And talking about me. So that's sort of the journey. And so that when I started making the films a couple years ago, or like a year ago is when I started actually making the films, was if more people knew all of these applications and the ways that animals help people, in from health standpoint, from psychologically, from emotionally, from cognitively, and then just like our everyday pets, we can't discount that. We can't discount the importance of the benefit that our dogs
just getting us up and out and going for a walk. I mean, that alone is just a huge benefit for us.
Huge. It's exercise for us. It's connection with our neighbors. It's connection to fresh air. It's there's so much. I mean, we could talk for hours. That's why I make films, that we can't talk about this for hours, but I can make the films that will last for a couple hours that we'll talk about. Right?
That's amazing. I love that journey. It's so human, right? There's nothing spectacular about it, and that's actually what makes it so spectacular, if that makes sense, right? It's just seeing the seeing the extraordinary in the ordinary, everyday relationships that we have around us. And of course, we're focusing on the animal human connection, but I mean, you could extend that to, other relationships that you have. Dogs can teach us so much. They're so wise.
And just riffing off of that a little bit, one of the programs that I've been involved with over the years, they're located in Los Angeles, and there's a few of them. It's called Canine Connection, and there's another one that's called Canine Youth Alliance, and they pair at-risk kids with shelter dogs. And the idea is that the kids are training the dogs when they get school credit or, whatever their motivation is to join the program. But what really happens is these kids' emotional intelligence grows, and it's really quite remarkable. And so that they're not only now, their compassion grows for this animal that they've been connected with, because now they're connected with, and they spend 3 weeks every day, and all of a sudden it's like their buddy. But now they're also able to connect with their peers in ways that they couldn't before, and their family members. And so this whole process of expanding who we are as people through our interactions with animals maps over to our connections with people.
Yeah, that's amazing. It really is something that we should all stop and take note of. And I'm so glad that you're able to kind of put into visuals and words and music and everything else, in your storytelling to open our eyes all up, right, to all of that. What would be, I would say, the thing that resonates the most with you? Like, what's something that has surprised you along the way, or that has, that's kind of carries you through, or
it's kind of new to me, so I'm like not a jaded filmmaker. I just started. It was 2014 that I came back from the conference and got the light bulb to make the films. And I live in Los Angeles, and my husband does movie marketing, so we had some connections, and so it was easy to kind of get the ball rolling in terms of talking to people. And out of the blue, I got invited to a film festival that I never would have been invited to. Just like the whole world works sometimes,
Yeah.
And so I worked on it for a couple of years, kind of behind the scenes, because I was also working on what to expect when adopting a dog. And I have 2 kids who were still at home at that point. Now they're both in college. So I was busy. And then the book came out, and I had too much on my plate. I couldn't focus on the book and be a mom to human people and to dog people and, and make movies that I didn't know how to do all at the same time.
Right.
And so in 2018, I picked it up again. I took a course about filmmaking, really about the self-distribution model of filmmaking. Most people are unaware of, but I'm going to attempt that. And also, in my mind, I'm going to make a film, which is like an hour and a half long, right? Documentary. But 2 totally unrelated people came to me I had meetings with them, and they both said to me, independent of one another, wait, why are you going to make a feature film? You don't have experience making films. You don't know what you're doing. You don't have any money. You don't have a following. Like, why don't you start with small films, like shorts, and try it out and give it a whirl and see if you like it. And, you can get, start building up your audience that way. And I was like, well, that's a good idea. So that's what I started doing. So 2019, I started filming, which was really good before COVID hit. Who knew that was going to happen, right?
Yeah.
And so I started making these short films, and they're free. I'm hoping that everything will be able to just be free, all of it, even when I get into the feature and stuff, so that everybody gets the benefit of seeing everything. So, it's not boring. First of all, each time we shoot, it's a new topic. Like the first one we did was finals week at a college, and so they brought in therapy dogs, and so it was just like fun and magical, and the kids were so happy, and it was a de-stress event, and the kids just loved it. And the people who are the handlers who bring in their therapy dogs, they love it. Like it's just like everybody's happy. And it was just really fun, even though I didn't know what I was doing. I made so many mistakes. In fact, I have a blog called Diane's Diary, and it's like the making of animal magic films. And I'm like, oh man, I forgot to do that. Oh man, I didn't know how to do that. Like all things along the way. So people can sign up for my blog actually, and through my newsletter on my website, which we'll talk about later. But so you can just see oh, like the palm. I wish I had known that, but it's a learning experience, and I'm glad I'm learning it through these little videos rather than on a feature. So,
Right.
that's probably the long answer to the short question you asked me, which is it's never boring because it's just it's always new. And the other thing is that when I do get frustrated, it's easy for me to remember my why. Like, why did I start this in the first place? Which is because I know how deeply I've been touched by animals. And if I could touch one person through this, or open somebody's eyes, or people whose eyes are already open, for them to be like double down on their understanding of how amazing animals are, and maybe spread the word with their people, then I've made a difference. But it all goes back to remembering like why I did it. And then every time I go out and film again, I'm like, that's it. The magic just keeps happening. Like, I'm so happy that I named my company Animal Magic Films, because the magic happens every time. It's just amazing.
Yeah,
that's awesome. So speaking of these short projects that you've worked on so far, do you have a favorite story or kind of behind the scenes insight of some things that have happened on set?
Well, going back to this whole magic thing, like the best description I could describe is that every time I'm there, even though the stories are different, I'm awestruck. I'm awestruck by the way people open up around animals. I mean, so one of the films that we made was at LAX airport. They have therapy dog program, and people are just like stressed. They're in the airport, and they come through and they're like, oh, we can pet these dogs. And I'm like, oh, this is so great. And then there's an equine therapy organization that I've done some volunteer work with, and they cater to people with all sorts of different challenges. And one of the young men that was riding that day, he has he's an autism spectrum diagnosis. And he was so happy to be there, right? And his joy, like as a volunteer, I wasn't filming that day actually, and I will be filming them. But my job was as a sidewalker on the side of the horse, like to help them make sure that they stay balanced. He was actually a really good rider and didn't need me, but it was my job anyway. And his joy, I swear, it was like coming down through his leg into my body, because the tears were rolling down my cheeks. And I'm just witnessing it, like, but being in the ring with the horse, I know this is a dog show, but I think people can understand.
No, are you kidding?
And, just being outdoors, watching his joy, like the tears were just coming down my cheeks, witnessing his experience of just pure joy. And so it's on. And I was able to film in June, and it was veterans and people who were formerly professional athletes. There's this really cool organization called Merging Vets and Players, and they do some equine therapy, and I got to witness it. And it seems like, tough people, they're athletes, they're former military, and they get in the ring with the horse, and it's just stunning to watch everybody's transformation. Sometimes it's wild horses, sometimes it's not wild horses. And it's just stunning to watch and witness that. And then another one, a film of mine that's coming out soon, is a therapist who uses her dog as a therapy dog in her practice. And this one little girl, I mean, everybody was like, just really benefits from the whole experience of having this dog in the practice. But this one little girl, she kept saying, oh, I love coming here, and I don't know anybody else that has a dog in their therapy office. And I've met other therapists, and it just makes me want to keep coming back here. And I'm like, oh, like,
yeah.
How
touches your heart. It really
how
does.
many people go to therapy want to go, right?
Yeah.
She wants to go because there's a dog there. So it's been pretty great.
That's really cool. Can you share a little bit about some of the good works that you're doing. Obviously, in sharing these stories in honor of pups and everything, I'd love to know more about how that ripple effect, right, goes out into the world.
Yeah, it goes back to what I was saying before about, if people like watch my films, maybe the shorts right now are just more sweet, and wow, I didn't know that that's the biggest reaction I get right now. Like, wow, I didn't know that they had therapy dogs at the airport, or I didn't know that they had. And so I hope that a lot of people, like, over time, are like, wow, I just had no idea. And that it starts to help more people. So, like, some of my ultimate big goals are for, like, right now, a lot of hospitals have therapy programs. I want all hospitals to have therapy programs. There's a young woman that I'm filming who's waiting to get a service dog. She has seizures. She's waiting to get her service dog. It's expensive. It's not easy to get. And, like, at some point in the future, everybody who could benefit from a service animal should have a service animal. And so I'm hoping that my films raise awareness of all of these ways that animals help people, so that it becomes the norm, so that it's not the exception, but it's the norm of how we operate in society. Being that animals are the norm, and noting too that animal welfare is a really big part of it too. That it's not just about the people. Going back to what I said originally, that it's a both conversation. That ensuring that animals, for example, service animals, that they're at the very minimum content with their work. That none of this is at their expense for our enjoyment. And that's there's some work to be done there in some of these areas. Therapy animals, they do work. They've done some studies where they test the cortisol levels of the dogs before they go do therapy work and then afterwards, and their cortisol goes down, which is amazing. Which means that the dogs are happier at the end of the therapy work than they were before. Like, they enjoyed it. And so it's also really important for these therapy dog organizations to, and most of them do a great job at this, ensuring that the dog or the llama or the whatever animal, therapy llamas, that they're well suited for this work, that they actually want to be there, and that it's not a chore for them to be there. So that so the good extends to more people having the benefit, but also making sure that animals are represented in all of this too.
Yeah. So do you have some fun things or exciting things happening in the future at Animal Magic Films?
Yes. Well, I've got, we're finishing up, we're still editing the next one about the therapist who uses a therapy dog. But that should be out in October. I'm going to make sure it's out in October. I'm going to do my best to make sure it's out in October. I thought it was going to be out a couple months ago. That's okay. And I just started a weekly Facebook Live series that will be interviews with different people that are involved with the human-animal bond. And that's going to start next Tuesday, 2:00 Pacific, or 5:00 Eastern. So that's October 13th. That's going to start.
I love that.
That will take place probably in my Facebook group, which is called the Science and Magic of the Human-Animal Bond. So I might take it out of the group. We'll see. But right now, and it'll also be on my YouTube channel, which is Animal Magic Films. And then I'm creating the feature and a docuseries, but that's going to take a while. So that's at least 18 months away, maybe 2 years, depending on COVID and funding and all that kind of stuff.
Right. I love all the works that you described. I love the stories. I love the fact that you're sharing stories. It makes me think about, me as a non-filmmaker and how I can share stories just, with my own friends and family, even if it's just through a photograph and maybe not through video. Just taking everyday situations and making the most of those, like being aware, dogs just animals help us to be our authentic selves, right?
Yeah.
A lot of the reasons why they provide such benefit is, we're not worried about what they think of us or what they're going to ask of us or anything like that. And of course, pups and animals just, as long as we treat them well, all they want to do is give us lots of love in return. I'd like to make a request for anybody watching now or on the replay. If you have a story that you think you'd like Diane to tell, or of some good works that are being done through therapeutic bonds with animals, leave them in the comments below. We would love to know what other stories are out there that might be some really good ones to tell. And I'm sure Diane would love to hear some of the stories.
And I'm also revamping my website to start including those stories. So if anybody wants to be included on my website, they can email me at Diane at Animal Magic Films, or once we start to see them come up in the comments, we can reach out to people in case they're interested in participating.
Yeah, no, I think that would be great. There's lots of stories out there that I think would make great fodder for your mini docuseries. I love the idea of a full feature film, but I really love the idea of the mini series as well, because I think there are so many little snippets of stories that you can tell more stories that way, and share more of that kind of awareness, and it's easier to consume, right? It's you can, if you want to binge watch like a half a dozen little docuseries in a day, you can, right? You can get all the goodness that you want. So I'm super excited to know that you've got lots of more things coming. We're big fans of yours, and anything to help support you, we'd love to. And as I said, everybody, think about stories that you might know, shelters or therapies, or even your own experience. That would even probably be better, right? Share your personal experience with therapy dogs or your own personal pet and how they've helped you get through some tough times. So thank you so much for being with us today.
It's so much fun.
We've shared a lot of different ways you can connect with her, but certainly go to animalmagicfilms.com, and there's all kinds of great stuff there. Visit her blog, check out all those mini docuseries that she's building, and go to their Facebook group and sign up, and obviously get to see those interviews that are going to be happening starting Tuesday. So thanks again so much. Really a pleasure being with you today. Really means a lot.
Okay,
thank you for the work that you do.
My pleasure. Likewise.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye, everybody.